All right, we're live. Let me refresh, make sure we're set, make sure you can see me, make sure you can hear me. Let me know. Let me see, we're still trying to get set and we are good. All right. So this is going to be the live Saturday show. I'm not going to do any shout outs until the very end of this whole thing. So I'm going to be talking about the reality of selling on eBay, give you 5 examples, expectation versus reality, how it is reselling on eBay. If you're thinking about selling on eBay, you're a newbie, you've been thinking about it, then I think this is a good video. If you're a part-time seller, this is a good video. And most of all, if you're a full-time seller, this is a good video because you can probably relate to a lot of the things I'm going to talk about. And I think it's going to be kind of like a funny, but also very, I guess, educational learning. You can probably learn from it, selling on eBay. So let's get into it. Our 5 examples for the reality of selling on eBay, the honest truth, expectation versus reality. Some examples. Number 1, if you're just getting into selling on eBay, you're probably like, oh, that looks fun. Maybe I could try that. You know, people are sourcing. It's thrill of the hunt to see what they could find. I could definitely do something like that. But reality is, what about consistently sourcing, taking photos, listing, storing items, where you're going to put items, shipping out items when they sell, paying your taxes, bookkeeping on all the goods, mileage, supplies, all of these things that come into play, part of your business. And I think a lot of it gets kind of hidden in the background because we get to see all the cool things, which is sourcing. What are you going to find? I mean, in-store action, garage sales, thrifting, which is, of course, that's the funnest part. But eBay is probably the most active and hands-on reselling platform or e-commerce platform right now on the internet. Comparing it to like Merch by Amazon, you're putting in just designs, and after that, I mean, you can run ads and market it but for the most part, Amazon's going to take care of the rest and make the shirt and ship it out. You're pretty much done after doing the design part. And FBA is, I mean, even though you're sourcing and you're shipping it out there, uh, after that, after it sells, they're handling the packaging and the customer service. So it's like somewhat, I don't know, 25% passive in that case because you're not dealing with that. Same thing with merch, has more of a passive side of it. But eBay is all hands on, and you got to do all of this extra work, part of it that's just part of the business, not just the sourcing. Looks fun. I like dealing with just finding items, and that's all I have to do. It's totally different. And talking about like breaking those down. Okay, so consistently sourcing, you have to replenish these items. Can you find these items and resell these items? Keep up the numbers every day, every week, every month. Do you know somebody? Do you have a wholesaler? Do you have a supplier? Do you go to stores and find these items? Can you consistently do this? Taking photos, listing these items, that's a lot of work and time. Storing the items. I remember when I lived with my parents, me and my friend, we bought a garage full of like nothing but old school vintage video games. And I think we put $500 or $600 each. And it was like 12, 13 NES systems. And then it was like 18 Super NES systems with cords, games, everything. It was like bins full of these. And my parents had this certain room. It was, I mean, they kind of wanted to use it more of like a guest room, invite people over. It was kind of like a sunroom type thing. And then I just threw everything in that room. Me and my friend had to go piece by piece, put things together. Oh, the NES, does it work? I don't know. We got to test it. And then after we test it, oh, it doesn't work. Now we got to clean the pins and see what games work. Now we got to clean those games. And all that time, effort, and work that goes into it, cool. How much you're going to get for it? How much money you're going to make? You kind of know already. But what about all the time you're going to put in before you even sell all this? You should be keeping track of how much time and effort it takes to do this. It's not just like, hey, cool, I should be making this much money. That's all the profit I'm going to make. Not necessarily true. And the same thing for like mileage. That's a huge deal. If you're driving a lot to go find things, like Hustleby, for example, like he talks about how he doesn't have Ross, but he'll drive, 3 hours here, 4 hours here, 5 hours here. You got to keep track of not only the time that it's taking you to drive to these places, but also how much money you're spending on gas. I mean, that should be part of your whole profit and everything of what you're taking, because you have to put that down as an expense. I mean, yes, you might make, I don't know, 40%, 50% ROI in a certain item. Let's say you found 10 pairs of cleats that are going to sell for this amount of money, but how much you spend on gas to get to that store to sell these cleats? So there's a lot of factors in there, not just looks fun, I want to go sourcing, I can do that. So number 2, expectation. I'm gonna hit, you go to the store. Oh, I'm gonna hit up Ross today. I'm excited. I'm pumped. I'm gonna find these shoes. I know I'm gonna hit it big today. Or you're gonna go to the thrift store and you have like this mindset. You're positive. You're excited, which is good. But then the reality hits. You're like, oh man, like another another garbage store with one find or no finds. You left without anything, but that's okay to leave without anything. Are you being consistent? If that's the way you do source, let's say you're doing a lot of the retail stuff, going to Goodwill, Savers, Ross, Marshalls, doing these, it happens. Sometimes you leave with nothing. My example was on Thursday, I did no edit video, Burlington, and I went around. I showed you guys different things of shoes, what I could find, some of the active wear. Some things look promising. We looked it up. We did the research. In the end, I left the store with nothing. And I actually got maybe like a handful of emails, and they weren't bad. They were actually all good. But one of them was kind of funny. It was like, hey, Glenn, I watched the Thursday video. You went to Burlington and you left with nothing. He's like, good stuff. Appreciate that. And I kind of like that too, to just show like there's a lot of times I leave with nothing and it happens. But you're also going to get the home run finds, which we're going to talk about on the third one. Home run finds, big time finds, consistent finds, maybe low end finds that are going to take a little bit longer to sell. And then you're also going to get those days where, hey, it was a slow day today, but tomorrow's a new day and we'll attack it differently. Maybe we'll go to different stores. Maybe we'll hit a different route. Maybe we'll do this differently. So it's different at that point. And also what's kind of funny though, this doesn't necessarily have to happen with just stores, but eBay in general. Like you'll see different people posting on there like, hey, eBay must be broken today because I got no sales, even though the last week I got, I don't know, so many sales. Now today, nothing. What's wrong with eBay? They must be doing something with my listings. They must be throttling. What's going on? And the truth is, like, hey, slow day might just happens, but wait, the next day maybe you'll get $500 in sales, $1,000 in sales. I don't know, or more than that. I don't know. Depends on your inventory, what you're sourcing. But slow days happen, good days happen. But for the most part, you want to keep it consistent and keep it going and getting those numbers up. So that's expectation reality number 2. Number 3, let's talk a little bit about these like home run hits, these awesome finds. And expectation, you're going to the garage sales, things like that. And you do, and you end up finding one of these home run finds. This has happened before. I've talked about the story with like Disney statues, snapback hats. I made pretty good money on different things. But what about the next time you go to the garage sale on Saturday? Are you going to be able to find that a similar home run hit that you can spend? That Disney statue, for example, was like $20, ended up selling for like $1,200. Is that going to happen every single weekend? Probably not. But are you going to get discouraged if it doesn't happen? Or are you going to be able to keep going and find these consistent finds that are going to make you, I don't know, 10, 20 here, 50 to 100 here. Maybe it's a mix, maybe it's not. It's up to you. But the expectation and reality is like, oh man, I found this home run hit. And then the reality hits like, oh man, next week I didn't find that. And then the next week comes, oh, I didn't find another home run hit. And then you're like, okay, well, what happens now? Can you consistently find items to resell if you're doing that garage sale, thrifting, and the retail Ross Marshall's game? Can you consistently do it? Um, I guess my example with that would be, are you going to mix in like slow flips with fast flips or the big time hits, the home runs? Can you do it? Can you mix it in? I think another example was, I know somebody that had emailed me went all in on a certain, I think cleats that they ended up finding at, I think Nike outlet, because obviously Ross and stuff, we can only pick up so many pairs unless we're going to all the different stores. But Nike outlet, they picked up, I think it was like 12 or 15 pairs deep on this certain cleat that was going to make them really, really good money. And they were super pumped about it, talking about, hey, what do you think about this find? I'm excited. I found this. I'm like, all right, cool. And then ended up emailing me like 3 weeks later. They're like, hey, what do you think about this find? By the way, I haven't really found any other shoes like I did when I found those cleats. What else can I do to find these other items? Where else can I go? Do you think I should source more? Do you think I should do this and do that? They're kind of all over the place. And I'm like, you know, that one was a really, really good home run hit, and you're going to make the money from it. They already had sold a couple of pairs, but it's not going to be like that every single time you go to the Nike outlet just because of that one awesome find. So you have to find a way to keep your business going and being consistent with it. That's what I was like, kind of helping out that person. Number 4, expectation versus reality on this one's kind of funny, but all right, so you sell an awesome item, 120 bucks, and you sourced this shoe or whatever, you sourced it for $20. And let's say after fees, everything you made, I don't know, 80 bucks, 90 bucks, or 70 bucks profit, and you're excited, you're pumped. And then a week later, that same buyer emails you. It's like, hey, you know what? I just didn't like the shoe, didn't like the way it fit. I got to return it. And you're like, you want to return an item? Hell no. I made $70 profit on this item. But the thing is, returns happen, and you'll be surprised how many emails, DMs that I get on people that just get discouraged on returns, period. Returns are part of this whole game. I don't know anybody that has never lost money, period, reselling or even having their own business. It's going to be part of this whole process. So you're going to have to learn how to deal with it and accept it and how you're going to move on, or you're going to dread on it and just be down and out and like, I really don't know now if I really want to do this whole reselling thing. This whole return thing is really getting me down. I don't know what I should do. And the thing is, returns are going to happen a lot. Here's another interesting thing. What about Amazon FBA? Returns after Christmas time. Do you know how many returns happen after Christmas time? Either something broke, the kid didn't want it anymore, you bought something, and then your aunt bought something, and then your cousin bought something, and all 3 of them were the same item. They all gave it to the same kid. Now they have triple of this item. I want to return it to Amazon. Or maybe after Christmas happened, they didn't like the price of it. Now I'm going to return it, and I'll just buy it from Amazon again. I'll get the better deal because now the price went down now that Q4 is over and done with. But I think a lot of the big time FBA sellers that do make a lot of money during the Christmas time, we get to see the big numbers. We get to see the charts, the graphs, everything that they're doing and making the money. What about the returns in general, and especially after Q4 time? What do those numbers look like? Because there's a lot of times we don't get to see that side of it after the Q4, after the money has been made. Sometimes it's a make or break for somebody. Sometimes they did really, really well in Q4, that the returns, hey, it was a slight loss, but for the most part, they came out on top. But maybe some during Q4, it was more of a learning experience. They got into it. And then now after the returns, maybe they ended up breaking even. Maybe they ended up making just a little bit more money afterwards, but we don't really know the full story. So that's what leads us to number 5. Expectation versus reality on YouTube videos and Instagram. So we're going to talk about that. So, expectation, you're watching YouTube videos. Hopefully, you're watching Hustler Hacks, but if you're not, that's fine. But let's say you're watching other YouTubers out there, they're making money, they're showing big time finds, and you might even get ads or emails or things on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, like so and so just made 100,000 a month on eBay, 200,000 a month on Amazon FBA. They were drop shipping. They were chilling at the house and they all of a sudden made all of this money. Or maybe they were chilling on an island somewhere drinking drinks and they made all of this money happen and they really didn't have to do much. So what's the reality of it? Did they do it? Did they not do it? What does their system look like? We really don't know. I mean, we're seeing someone trying to push ads towards you, trying to make money off of a certain product that they're probably trying to sell you. We don't know the full story, but let's go down to like eBay side. So expectation versus reality. You see someone making pretty good money on eBay. What are they selling? I don't know. We have to figure that out. But the reality is not everyone's going to tell you the truth, whether it's some people do, some people don't. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. But it's important for you to do the research and most importantly, make your own calls. I mean, why would you go off of what someone else says or does? You need to go into it and figure out, hey, whatever business model, if that's something that I look like and see what they're doing and I kind of like what they're doing, how are they doing it? How often do they source? How much money are they really making? What's the ROI on these products that they are selling? Can I go through their completed listings? Can I figure out what they're selling? Where are they getting these items from? Do they have a hookup or not? Do they have a supplier or not? Can I get these items? Can I flip these items too? There's a lot of different things that go into it. So let's give some examples. There's an obvious difference between profit and sales. Like, how much money are you actually making? And so someone says, I made six figures last year versus I sold six figures. So if you made six figures and you took home six figures, then that means, of course, after fees, after your cost of items, after mileage, supplies, goods, all of that, you're still able to take home over six figures after all of this. And that's really, really, really good. Doesn't matter what platform, you're making really good money. Now, compared to just selling six figures, that's different. After all your eBay transactions, it came out to $5,000, $110,000. But that's not really how much you actually made because you're not accounting. That's just sales. You're not really accounting all the other things and factors that come into play with that. So there's totally different things there. And sometimes it's not all shown, of course, on the social media side. I talked about kind of doing the research and stuff. You can see what other people are selling for the most part if they're throwing out their eBay name, their store. But also there's different factors even with that. Do they have more than one store? Do they have three stores? Maybe they have three accounts. Maybe they focus on one certain niche on one account, another niche on another account, and another one on another account. So maybe we don't really know if this person has more than one eBay account. Maybe they're making more money other ways that they're not sharing with everybody else. There's different things on there. And another one we could say is, let me see, looking at my notes, what else we're talking about. We talk about the influencer part of it, Instagram and YouTube. And I had one example. I had someone that emailed me, I think it was about 2 weeks ago. They're looking for help, looking for advice on their eBay store. Can you help me with this? I'm having trouble with that. And I'm like, okay, cool. Let me know. Send me your store. If you want to send me, this is just outside of the thing, but if you want to send me your store review, I'll give you like 2 or 3 tips on things you should improve on. That's fine. But on another side of it, I was like, hey, I need help on this, but I'm embarrassed of my sales. I really don't want to share this with you, but I need help. And I'm like, well, there's only one way to really find out of what you're really doing. I mean, I can't just give you general advice because I really don't know what's going on. And this person was like, I'm embarrassed to show you my numbers because I don't think I'm doing or at the same level, which I really don't care for level part of it. But at the same time, this person was like, I follow so many other resellers on Instagram, and I get discouraged because I know that I'm not doing whatever they're doing. And that's number one on how you're going to end up also losing in this case, because when you're paying attention to a lot of the big time photos or numbers or hauls or things like that, and you don't really know the full story, and you start feeling bad for, I guess, what yourself, what you're doing, you're not going to win in that situation. You should only feel bad if you claim that you're trying and you're working hard when you're really not. That's when you should really feel bad. I wouldn't feel bad if you're making $200, $500 less per day, per week, per month. It doesn't matter in that case, because you're a totally different person doing a totally different thing, living in a totally different city. So in that case, it's totally different there. But what about, I think one person had an example of, I think I also responded to them. Like if I posted on Instagram and I took a picture of 100, 200 pairs of Nikes that I got from the outlet, and you just saw boxes like this box back here, and they were just piled, and I was sitting next to it and I took a picture, and I was like, my comment was like, yeah, hashtag baller, hashtag I don't know what else. Would you believe that I was gonna resell all of these items and I was like $20,000-$30,000 profit? Would you believe whatever I was going to say? But in reality, maybe the boxes were empty. Maybe I just got them on the side of the road that someone just threw there at the Nike outlet near the dumpster, and I just put it there and I took a picture and I was like, hey, take a look. What would you really believe or not believe? And there's a lot of things that, hey, don't believe everything you see, but look at what you're doing, focus on your business, how you want to make money, what do you want to do, and look into some, look into the business model that you can handle, that you want to really grow and work into. But most importantly, you have to like what you're doing. If you don't like shoes, then you should at least try it. And if you don't like it, cool, go to something else. If you really, really like garage sales, you really, really like thrifting, that's the thing for you. You have a consistent store or location or something that you like to go to and it works for you, then yes, do that, because that's what you're going to be able to excel in. And especially if you like it, that's what you have to do. All right. So let me see. I think we're done for all expectation versus reality on our 5 sets. Let's go into the chat and see who's here. So roughly I talked for about 25. I think last time I talked for like 30 minutes, but for the most part. Let me go. I think this chat thing can't even scroll. Victor, you sound like Hustle B. What? You sound like Hustle B Stacks you're referring to. Not necessarily Hustle. The thing with Hustle B is that I know what his store is, and I know how many items he has in his store. So that, and you can find it too. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but if you really wanted to find it, you can definitely find it just by doing simple research, and you can see what items there are and what items are selling and or not selling. That you can find it there. Same thing with my items. I mean, technically I could put a bunch of shoes in here too, but you can also go to my store and find out if that item is actually listed or not. So not necessarily what I'm referring to. I'm talking about my example was actually the person that emailed me and giving me these examples of feeling bad of things that they saw, just a simple photo. That's what I'm saying though. Like if you see a photo and you see someone that has a lot of pairs of shoes or a lot of things of clothing, a lot of things of jeans, and they say it's going to be a profit of $3,000, $4,000, then go to their eBay store and look up the research. Did they list it? Did they sell? Do they have completed listings? What's going on? Like that's the research part that you should be doing, because if that's something that you're into also selling, then see if that is going to work for you or not. Like how much money did they spend? What are they really selling or not? Do the research. Okay, let me see. Young is in the house. Can I get a shout out? That's funny. Merch Minds podcast will be up on Monday. If you want to see, hey, Retro Aficionado, you got to change your name. That's the thing. All right, let me see. Question: I mainly sell clothes, but look into selling hard goods. Should I start up a second store for hard goods, or stay with one eBay store? Thanks. That's a good question. If it's particularly niche based, then you can open the second store, but also notice what comes up with the second store with you having to kind of start from the beginning. You're not going to start off with the let's say whatever your seller limit is now. You're not going to start off in that case if you start up a new store. Um, so just know that it's going to take some time to kind of build that up. I think it is better that way to do the separate niches, especially if you're focusing on one certain thing. But just know that it is going to take some time to kind of build that up rather than you just putting it all in one. You can just sell all the things you already have because that store is already legit and your limit is different. Next week's No Edit Thursday video Nike outlet. I feel overwhelmed trying to source there. I was thinking of probably doing so. Next week we're gonna be in Portland, so I think No Edit Thursday for the Nike outlet. We should probably do like me and Hustle be doing that. And I think that'll be kind of cool because and then we get to source a different location rather than the Nike outlet one that you guys have seen over and over again. Because I only have one store, one Nike outlet, so I think that'll be pretty cool to show a different store and different sourcing in a different city for No Edit Thursday for Nike outlet. This week I might try to do like Plato's Closet, those type of stores. I haven't really gone. I don't think I've shown like Savers or even some of the other thrifting, so maybe I'll do that. Let me see. Let me go. Measy, let's give all of our business tactics away like other big stores do because they share all their secrets with each other. That's totally your call. Like some people do, some people don't. You don't have to share everything. I mean, if they have, my point was if they have a secret store and they're claiming that they made a bunch of sales, like where do this other sales come from? That's my point. Like if you have another store, then just say I have another store. I don't care. I mean, like, but the thing is that you're being transparent in that case, saying, hey, I have another store. These are my sales from another store. I'm not going to share what these items are, but you can at least say, like, hey, I have this other store. This is what's going on. I mainly watch your channel, similar items. Appreciate it. Similar items. That was from Victor, so appreciate that comment. I've been picking up Nike or Adidas NBA jerseys for resale. Is there a style code on the tag or jersey, or will I have to enter it manually? Your best case from there is just looking up the team and the player, and you can put swingman jersey or replica jersey. Their style code is different. It's usually like 2 letters and then like 4 numbers after that. So like BA3667 or something. All right, let me see. Let me see. What about those folks who claim to hide their stars? Oh, that's from Girl on Fire. Hey, how's it going? I think they who claim that they, I mean, if they claim it, that's fine. I think that's good. I'd rather know that information rather than or the people that also talk about it rather than share like, hey, I do have other stores rather than this one. Then cool, let everybody know. Let me go back up. Oh man. I think there's a lot of older ones that, hey, Jeff is in the house and Danny Ryder is also here. Let me see what did you get? What'd you find at the swap meet? I only found a couple of things. Guitar Hero guitars are still selling, so I ended up picking one of those. But the rest of it, a couple of jerseys. Did find some cleats, but nothing really that awesome today. Just a couple of things. Jim, believe half of what you see, nothing you hear. Thumbs up. Let me see. Let me go back up. Oh man, there's a lot of stuff on here. All right, I have to go back to the questions. That's what happens with these type of videos. I go nonstop talking. So throwing any questions in here. How do you make it with Nike outlets? You really have to. Really, what it comes down to is a lot of the sales days. So in the back wall, you'll find like 20% off, 30% off, but it doesn't always work that way. A lot of the sales trying to get there early. Yesterday on my Instagram, I posted a picture. It's kind of like a little quick boomerang thing of the people that were waiting in front of the store. So I have a lot of competition here in my city. They buy and then they resell in Mexico because we're right there where the border is. And they're not competing on eBay. I actually did we talked about the Nike up tempos. that a lot of us talk about, that we find the up tempos. You've seen them. And I did a research on, I was like, I wonder who's also selling these up tempos in my area. I did a 100-mile radius, and there was 0 sellers in adult up tempos and youth up tempos. And I was like, what's going on here? I thought for sure that at least be some other sellers that are selling it on eBay. I mean, that was kind of like one of the, I guess, mostly found shoe in Burlington and some of the other stores. But a lot of my competition has nothing to do with a lot of the eBay stuff. They're going to Mexico and they're selling them over there. And we're talking about yesterday had a pile of like at least 50 to 60 pairs, and they go for a lot of the shoes that are $35, very low end shoes, and they could flip them over there, and that's their type of like business model, which is different. So if you were selling a lot of the low end stuff, you could do local sales too. That would be different. As far as eBay, you got to make it work with the back wall sales. Buying low, selling high on certain models. Our last example were like the Metcon 2s. They're training shoes. They're not basketball shoes, which that's probably what me and Hustlebee have more experience in. But the training shoe, I think they were selling for like 99 to 109 range, and they were $34.95. So you have to kind of go on and do the research and finding these shoes, and they're cheap, and it's doesn't always work like that, but also depends on what your business model is. You can buy shoes and make less than 40% ROI. You can make 20% ROI. Is it worth it in that case? I don't know. That's your business model. And trying to figure that out a little bit. Let me see. Let me go back. All right, a lot of questions that kind of came in. Oh man. Sent you a message on IG. Okay, advice on a jersey, no problem. If you're just starting out, do you think it would be necessary to scan or enter every item at thrift stores you want to resell into eBay? Let's say you are unfamiliar with clothing, but you want to resell. Yeah, you're going to have to do the research on it, and it's going to take a lot of time and a lot of effort, especially in the beginning. And my example was last time with my friend going to Amazon. His thing was to do retail ARB for Amazon FBA, and he went to Target and Walmart section by section by section, scanning and writing down products, taking photos of items that he knew and did the research on. And he did this over and over and over again, handling one section per week. So he went to Target and Walmart every single day, 7 days a week, only focused on toys, only focused on baby section, and wrote down all of these things over and over and over again. He spent the time and put in the work to do it and the research part of it, and did really, really good. And he's still doing good because he's finding those items that you probably wouldn't scan if you just browsed over it. And he ended up scanning and finding out these certain items because he went through every single one that you could find. A lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of effort, but getting a profit from it. Let me see. Man, I'm trying to go. It just got done now at Thursday. Does most of your eBay sourcing come from these places? Yes. I do have a mixture of very low mixture of like thrifting and garage sale and flea market items. I did go today to like flea market, did find some stuff. So that stuff will be the non Ross, Marshalls, Nike outlet type of finds, but they're in there. But I used to do more of that. Actually compared to like the Ross Marshall stuff, and then now it's kind of like more of that rather than thrifting, so it's a little mix. But is there a reason Hustlebee uses stock photos but you advise using anything against them? That's on his store. I mean, I don't personally use them. I don't know if he is using them, then ask him and send him the link like, hey, why are you using these stock photos? Speaking of photos, there's quite a bit of people also that have used my photos, and then yesterday I sent some messages for them to take it down. So I was like, that happens too. But it's a good question. I mean, you can ask him about his store and his business that way. Let me see. Good way to source a Nike outlet. Not too familiar with the shoes compared to the original price. Yeah, you can do that too with like a Ross and Marshall's fine. You can do comparable value. If something looks high price, check out the MSRP value compared to the resale value or their price on it and see, you can run the numbers that way. Let me see. Danny Ryder supposed to be sourcing right now, but I'm still in bed, a little hungover. Hey, at least you're watching the channel. Let me see. Thanks to you and the B, made her for sale. $17 from Ross, sold for 70. So there you go. It's pretty cool. Now I'm hooked. There you go. Keep it consistent. Keep going. Keep sourcing and trying to make your own route, your own schedule. Sourcing at these stores every week. The more you go, the more finds are going to come up, and you're putting yourself in a better position to find these items. Let me see. I do clothing. It took a long time to work to learn it all. There we go. Let me see. Do you by any chance still do live pickups? I think 2-3 weeks ago I did like, hey, these are items that I found for the Saturday, and I showed those. I'm trying to mix it in here and there. I'm also thinking about doing a video. If you guys remember the Ross finds of the week breakdown, that's where I show the spreadsheet and what it looks like. So I was thinking about I could probably do, what are we, February 10th? I was thinking about maybe tomorrow we can talk about the items that I did sell, and what I think what's important to talk about that part on not only just the breakdown side, but each thing, like this is how much I spent. This is how much it sold for. This was the profit that I got from it. But I think another important factor of it is like, how long did it take for that item to sell? And I think that's also another topic and portion part of the reselling game that doesn't really get talked about a lot. One item I know sold in like 12 hours. That one I've shown on here before of what that one is. Another item, and that item was actually a flea market find. And then another item I know sold, it took me about 3 days. It sold for 170 and I picked it up for $59.99. And then on the opposite end, I had a Ross shirt that didn't sell for like, this is my fault for not keeping track of it too, like 3 or 4 months. Finally got an offer. It had been sitting there. I'd lower the price. I tried working at it. I finally got an offer that made me kind of like broke even. And I was like, all right, this is like, I learned from this find. This is done. I need to get rid of it. The thing is, I actually sold another one earlier last year, like late last year, that made me money. But this certain size of this shirt would not sell. How long did it take me to sell that item? It took like 4 months. And comparing to some of the items that sold in 4 days, that other item that sold in 12 hours, they're three totally different products, but they also just took a different time frame to sell. I think that's also important because I don't know a reseller that bought items and they sold 100% of everything, or they got 0 returns on anything. I don't know it, and I don't really think that's that's really true. You're gonna make money, you're gonna lose money, but for the most part, when you're consistent, you know what you're doing, you're building it up, you're gonna make more money, at least you should, than losing. Let me go. I'm trying to get into jerseys. I don't know much about NFL teams. I know there's money there. When it comes to jerseys, the thing is to know about real and fakes. There's just so many fakes when it comes to jerseys, and I've seen them selling on eBay. I've seen them selling on Amazon. And that's probably the toughest thing about it. Unless you're buying it from an authentic retailer, you're thinking about how much they should sell for. Also kind of keeping up with what kind of teams have what. Soccer is totally different than NBA and NFL. They're with Nike now. NBA used to be with Adidas. Now they switched. Now the Adidas jerseys are all over Burlington and some at Ross because now they switched. So kind of keeping up with that, and also knowing the difference between real and fake, that kind of thing. Let me see. Let me go back. Live pickup my favorite videos. I will subscribe to live pickups or enjoy those videos. I appreciate that. Maybe something I can do. I'm trying to get some different kind of like content and videos, especially for like Saturdays and Sundays getting in there. So maybe I can do that. Have you had experience with selling cups and mugs? In the thrifting game, reselling, and garage sale game, I used to sell like a lot of the Starbucks mugs. Those did really, really good, especially for a certain city. And then some of them are vintage. A lot of people collect those mugs. You're also looking at like vintage type of vintage pop culture mugs or huge mugs have a different style and look to them. I have sold them in the past. The trouble with them though is making sure they get to the right place without breaking, without chipping, those type of things. But there's good money to be made on the mugs. Let me see. I collect video games. Do you? Yeah, I have a video game collection in the back. Some people have asked like, how come I haven't talked about those? Maybe I can do a video game um collection or something like that. That'd be kind of cool. And let me see. I recently picked up size 18, 14 and a half, 15 cleats. They're $1 and $3.49 at Ross. Hopefully they sell at least 25. Yeah, you never know. And there's a lot of people skip over the big sizes, but also keep in mind, what does the model look like? What does the colorway look like? What was the retail on that shoe? How often are they selling? Doing the completed listings, the recent finds first. What's going on? Did they sell recently? Who else are you also competing with? So a lot of different factors in there that come into play. So just because it's a huge size doesn't mean it's not going to sell. I've sold the Adidas shoe that I sold was a size 20. I sold size 17 and 18 before. So we don't know until you get it on there and see what's going on. Sell books. That's kind of interesting. I never really got into the whole book thing, and I know people that are killing it on books, especially with Amazon FBA. The books was never really something I got into. I don't know. You see them obviously, Savers, Goodwill. I also think maybe why I never really got into the book game. I did a lot of like local type of stuff, like who's selling books, who's giving away books, like when libraries do sales, when or they're doing giveaways and things like that. A lot of people have really good come ups at that point because they can get them really, really dirt cheap. If you're doing like the Savers thing, to where like you buy what certain amount of books, you get one free or you get some for certain discount. It does get a little bit harder in that case. But then again, books come down to doing the research just like anything else. You would go and scan every single one of them. You would get a faster scanner. You would try to do that so that you can spend less time and you can find out what's selling good or not. And a lot of times people skip over like books that have over 1 million rank. Some of them have less. And like, okay, well, I really want to go for only a rank that hits this certain amount. And then some people go for the million whatever rank, and then those end up selling. So you really have to narrow it down to that niche. Good point. You have to be into what you're selling, or it turns into work you don't want to do. That ends up happening too. And when you try a certain new niche and you're like, hey, I really, really like this. Now, okay, you catch on, you're getting better. It's growing and you like it. Okay, now you can really build up and try to figure out how to scale. But if you don't like it, exactly, you're going to have some death piles in there that you're like, man, why did I buy these things? Or what should I do with them now? Am I going to, you know what? I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to list it. I'm going to learn like, hey, I'm not really going to go for these items anymore. Or maybe you do the donation part, or maybe you do the garage sale thing, or like, you know what? I'm just going to make a couple of bucks on it back per item and get out of here and focus on what I like to do. Yeah, you really have to focus on your niche and what you like. I collect video games and sell video games, do bundles. I find it my collection or make a profit and do so, continue game hunting. And yeah, the video game part too, a lot of money to be made there. I remember, man, like when me and my friend used to do a lot of the garage sale part, this is before N64, all that stuff. People really cared to even find these things. I remember buying 25 bucks, like a Super NES bundle with 30 games. And the lady was like, 25 for it. This is the time where like no one was really even sourcing these things. And then once people, of course, like stores and everything, they started selling them. Retro stores started coming out. They were selling them 25 bucks a game, much less 25 bucks for a whole system and games. Sourced at Walmart. I have done it before, the FBA side. What's interesting about Walmart when it comes to video games is that they'll have like a section and they already have like yellow tag, things like that. And you go and you scan it and it's actually cheaper than what you thought it was going to be. And Walmart tends to do this a lot, to where they'll have just different games on there that you thought was their retail price, whatever price they had in there was different. Actually go scan these items and figure out if that was actually the price or not. things might surprise you, be like, hey, this was actually $5, not the $29.99 that they had it for. I don't endorse books. It's funny. Good book, fine, $50 or less, Barnes and Noble. But I don't endorse books. That's pretty funny. Just started on eBay. How long till it starts consistent with sales? How big is your store? How many items do you have? How consistent are you with sourcing, and how often can you list? And how many items can you? I guess what is your store limit too? Because you said that you just started. Danny Ryder, appreciate that. Suns up, Lakers down. I'll repeat it for you for the $5 that you just sent. That's funny. Let me go back up. Oh man. They don't update their price changes quickly. That is why the price changes can be cheaper. Yeah, very true. And different Walmarts have different stores. You'd find, like, I remember at one of the Walmarts I had brand new sealed Tiger Woods. What year was this? Like 2014, or I don't know. It was like an old Tiger Woods game too, brand new sealed. It's been out for a long time. And one store still had it. It was still like $30, Xbox 360. And I was like, man, what's going on here? And another store had they had that same game, except the whole packaging was already torn apart and stuff. And the game ended up being, it was on clearance, but I don't know. It's just like Walmart and different stores, different Walmarts have different prices and different games. So you have to really go to all of them and scan all the items and see what's going on out there. Let me see. I heard the best day to post an auction is Sunday. Is that right? And what is better, auctions or buy it now? Amazon kind of changed the whole e-commerce thing when it came to eBay too, because Prime shipping, 2-day shipping, get it soon, get it now, do this. And so eBay was like, yeah, we got to change this thing too. And a lot of people buy it now or best offer. eBay will reward you if you do, 1-day handling time. So now you're making it quicker for this person to get the item. That's what eBay likes. Now, if you're a certain seller that only does auctions, you have a following, you have a fan base. And like Soul Supremacy would be a good example for that. They have people, once they put auctions, they do their auctions and people look forward to it, and they want to, get a good deal on a certain pair of shoes. And that's all their store does. They don't do buy it now. They don't do best offer. And they milk out these auctions pretty good too, because shipping alone is like 15 to 18 bucks, even on like the smaller pairs. It's like all pairs are that amount. And for the most part, their bids go way over of what you could buy this shoe from somebody else on eBay. And they do really well on auctions. So it depends on your store, your following, and your niche. And you might see it to where like you run an auction and like no one's paying attention, or you could do buy it now, best offer, all of this stuff. And then, okay, some sales start coming in. So it really just depends on you and your store. Let's see. I wouldn't sell clothes on auction. And you see a lot of people do what they'll do for clothes on auction, especially with used clothing, thrift store clothing, is like 99-cent auction, and then shipping is $7.99 or $8.99. So they're making money on shipping rather than the actual product. Especially when you're trying to like dump inventory. I think a lot of people have done this before, and your shipping will be higher. And then you have $1. So if someone does bid the $1, at least you're still making something, and you're also dumping the inventory. So people do that too. You make some money back on higher shipping costs. Yeah, exactly what we just talked about is doing that. So people have done it. But now with USPS rates super high, you'd have to even have higher shipping cost. Texas Scout Treasures, nice. Good to see you. We haven't talked. Me and Margaret haven't talked in a good while. So good to see Margaret here. We can talk some merch stuff. Let me see. I don't think there was some older questions. I don't think that I skipped. But if I did, sorry, you can try to go back through those. Any other questions before we go? Keeping it a nice hour-long video. But like I said, for Saturdays, I really want to try to do nonstop talking about my topic before we get into the chat and see what everybody else is talking about. So let me see. I should do a video All my purchasing mistakes, large shoe sizes, wrong video games. That's how you learn. You make mistakes. Even the best sellers still make mistakes, and it happens. And I think it's good to show the good and the bad, and even the like intermediate finds, because the consistent finds, hey, maybe I made $10 here, $20 here, $30 here, and then you have the big time home run finds. I made $70 on one item, $80 on one item, and then you get the lower items. Hey, maybe I made, I don't know, $10 on this, $7 on this, $3 on this. I don't know. Some people have different models where they're going for $3 to $5, but they're going for quantity, and they're going for trying to sell as many as they can, 100 items, making 5 to 7 each. I don't know. Depends what your model is, if that's what you want to do. When is your next live show? So I'll do the Wednesday live shows as normal, but Saturdays I try to do these different live shows to where I just go nonstop talking and then get into the chat. So I'm trying to also just cover more eBay based things. Not necessarily narrow down to like Ross, Marshalls type thing, but just eBay general platform type of selling. Do you make your email known? I was looking for email. Let me see. Yeah, you can. Let me see. You can send me an email. Type it in here. Hustlerhacks1 @gmail.com. You can email me anytime, and we can figure something out. And Larry, I know because you have sent me some stuff, so I know we can talk on that. I did buy a wetsuit, TJ Maxx, $5, sold for 100 on eBay. Nice. There we go. Those are the things that we haven't really shown, and also just different different things other than, like, I know shoes and stuff like that is stuff that I know, but if you know like Kate Spade dresses and women's side, and you know how to flip that stuff, that's a totally different market that I don't cover. I don't have the knowledge in, but if you do, and you put in the work and the effort and the research, and you start selling those things and does well, and you like it and you build it up, you can definitely do that too. Can you tell the difference between men's and women's shoe size? I usually try to look up the conversion rates, because like kid size could also be for women's. You can also, just depends, for like Converse, you can also do women's and men's. So just depends, but I like to just kind of just look it up on Google. Jeff, I appreciate it. Keeping it real. I appreciate you watching the channel, and I really want to get Jeff for an interview. Kind of like when I first did an interview with Hustlebee, I want to get one with Jeff, because Jeff is selling full time. He's doing good. He's doing great things on eBay and doing that. He didn't start off doing shoes and didn't have knowledge in the shoe game, and then he liked it and started to get more and more into it. And Jeff sells full time, has a family, has kids. I think that's a totally different approach, because when you have different bills and you're providing for a family rather than just you, or just you and a spouse, just you and student loans, there's different ways to attack it. But when you have a family and you're reselling full time, you're doing different things, that's a totally different way to attack it, and the way you should strategize. So Jeff, definitely want to get you on for one of the Wednesday interviews, and I'll let you know and contact you, so we can definitely do that and kind of go what I liked about the Hustlebee interview, which already seemed kind of like a long time ago at this point, but what I liked about it and what people seem to also like was just going like step by step. Like, how did you first start getting into reselling? What did you do after that? Okay, then what did you do? Then what did you do? Step by step, because there's a lot of in-betweens in there that get lost, and you can talk about, the times that, hey, like I really did bad on this, and this wasn't working for me. So then I started to do this, and I started to sell this. This did okay for me, but then I really didn't went all in for this part. So there's a lot of cool steps you can go step by step that I think would be valuable for the people watching. Daycare is too expensive. Yes, that's true, and that's one of the things we can also talk about. What up, Jeff? You're in Arizona. Yep, he's in Phoenix. That might be a route if I can figure out how to get on your level. And I was from Marco, so yeah, we can definitely talk or strategize or figure something out. And what software to use for merch shirts? I use Adobe Illustrator to do my designs. and upload those. Of course, transparent PNG, you can do that. Illustrator, or you can do it with Photoshop. Totally up to you. There's other platforms and different ways you can do shirts. For that, you can talk to Texas Scout Treasures and go to our channel on different ways to make shirts and designs. So, all right, I think we're done here. Appreciate it, guys. Honestly, thumbs up if you really like the videos, or at least these type of videos. It's different from the Wednesday setup, and appreciate it, everybody else that's watching. And yeah, tomorrow I might do that video. I'm still kind of working on it and how I would set that up, of really showing the breakdown of items, what the profit looks like, what the sales look like, and how long it took to sell and different things like that. So hopefully I can get that video done, because I'm also working on this stuff for next week. And then we'll also be in Portland. So also, if you're in Portland, you want to meet up, free meetup. I'm going to do some giveaways, hustlerhacks.com/Portland. And yeah, see you guys from there. So appreciate it, guys. Thanks for watching this video. Go out and get it.